kaimale Gota hidabasi kaimale Nyapa bajasi kaimale Erganutti dule gamronzani Samante kuno oromiani Yaate nufitte jarri doksani Nega gambardoota manabate Barattoota keenya kan biyyee nyaate Hundar walde yaaditti saree nyaate Achi naqini jarri lammiidha jette Wabiin qabdu gaafa manabate Biyyi mootummaan qabdu shifta argatti kufte Lolee kolakki foon citte koherraa gali malee Erganutti dule gamronzani Samante kuno oromiani Yaate nufitte jarri doksani Nega gambardoota manabate Barattoota keenya kan biyyee nyaate Hundar walde yaaditti saree nyaate Achi naqini jarri lammiidha jette Wabiin qabdu gaafa manabate Biyyi mootummaan qabdu shifta argatti kufte Lolee kolakki foon citte koherraa Lolee kolakki qoreen waraante Lolee kolakki kunoo haati garaa
Yaa akkam jirtu fayyaa keessanii dhufaa jirraa a little bit forward yes akkam jirtu dhaggeeffattoota keenya dhufnee har'a keessummaa qabadhee dhiyaatee jira keessummaan keenya har'aa Jalanne jedhamti faranjiidha maqaa Oromoo qabdi dhiyoo kana Oromoo taate egaa afaan Oromoo sirriitti hin barre kanaaf afaan Ingiliziitiin baay'inaan kan haasofnu hundumaafiyyuu Jalanne baga nagaan dhufte.
Thank you. Tell me. I'm well.
Yeah, come.
Naga.
Naga.
Faya.
Naga. Yeah. Okay. Jalanne, thank you, Jalanne or Jetta. Thank you so much. Today we are going to discuss about non-profit.
Yes.
Yeah. So what is non-profit? Why people actually start non-profit?
Right. Well, thanks for having me here. I really appreciate it. I have worked most of my career in nonprofit organizations.
Okay.
And nonprofit organizations are tax exempt. They're different from a for-profit business, which is intended to make money.
Mm-hmm.
The nonprofit business is there for a mission. It's for our hearts. It's for something we want to give or to create or to build. And it's for the good of humanity. So,
yeah. So they are mission driven, right?
Yeah, most of them. I mean, you have an organization that serves children, schools, food programs. People love animals. People love healthcare. I mean, it really depends. In our state of Minnesota, in fact, there's over 40,000 nonprofit organizations.
Really?
Yeah.
40,000?
Yeah. For every 1,000 people who live in our state, we have 6 nonprofits.
Okay.
So it's very popular. You know, and for me in my career, I've always worked in nonprofits related to volunteers.
Mm-hmm.
And Minnesota actually ranks 3rd in the nation for the number of volunteers that we have and that we serve. We're just a state that gives, and we believe in giving back to society. So nonprofits are that vessel, as opposed to just you and me doing it in our neighborhood. A nonprofit organization gives you a legal status, and it gives you an opportunity to create a business, a nonprofit business, with all the rights and responsibilities that go with that, to serve, basically.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Why it is important, actually? Why people start non-profit?
I think they do it because they want to give back.
Okay.
Right? Just today, a man from the cities who grew up in Derdawa,
Okay.
he called me and he said, Jetta, I want to talk to you about starting a nonprofit. I said, okay. And he wants to create one here in the Twin Cities related to soccer, because he loves football. But he also said, I'm getting permission to build a school back home And I think people want to create good in the world. They want to create legacy in the world. They want to help people. I think everyone comes to the table different ways.
Yeah.
You know, for me,
Actually, it gives you pleasure. It gives you
it's purpose.
meaning. Yeah.
It gives you meaning. It gives us, like I said, legacy, something to pass on to our children and our grandchildren.
Yeah.
And I've never been built to make money. I just it's just never what I wanted to do. I like to pay my mortgage. I like to put shoes on my kids' feet. But I like to be able to work in an organization where at the end of the day I feel good in my mind and my heart. So I think I'm not alone in that. I don't think it doesn't matter what background you come from. You know, Ferengi background, Oromo background makes a difference.
Okay. Yeah. Actually, the person who come up with Red Cross or who started Red Cross, he should be very, proud of what he did. And,
of course. Can you
imagine? Can you
imagine the world without the Red Cross?
Yes.
We'd be disorganized during disasters when someone goes into their day and they have a car accident and they're swept to the emergency room. We have the Red Cross for blood donations. We have the Red Cross for emergencies, tornadoes, all of those things. I can't imagine a life without the Red Cross.
Sure.
Good example.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Then maybe one question just many people ask me, are religious institutions, are they non-profit?
Well, they can be. Absolutely. I mean, they get
because they don't pay tax.
They apply as a nonprofit, and they can be faith-based or they can be secular-based. But a faith organization, whether it's masjid, whether it's a church, whether it's a temple, they have a status of 501c3. And the 501c3 is just the tax code at the federal level. And when you're looking at a nonprofit, if you have the 501c3 tax code, there are different pieces underneath all of them, but if they can separate church and state, then they can receive the financial benefits of people donating. When I started, I said that there's 40,000 nonprofits in the state of Minnesota. About 30,000 of those you could make a donation to, and then you could have a financial contribution, a charitable contribution. So not all organizations have that ability to receive. Like if I donate $100 to an organization that I love, if they're a 501c3, then I can use that to write off on my taxes. A lot of people do that. So not all. One out of or not all nonprofit organizations are charitable. But that's the reason that a lot of faith groups will go for their 501c3 status, is because they want to have people donate by pledging to the masjid or the church or the temple, and then be able to have the benefits of that.
Thank you. Dhaggeeffattoota keenya gaafii yoo qabaattanii bilbila Jetta gaafachuu ni dandeessu. Afaan Oromootiinis afaan Ingiliziitiinis 612-341-980 asirratti barreessaa. Warri gaafii qabdanii keessattuyyuu non-profit yookiin NGO bantanii warri fandii fa'aa argachuu barbaaddanii yookiin warri kanarratti hojjettanii Jettaa gaafachuu ni dandeessu. Bilbilli keenya isa kana kunooyi kanaani kunoo asirraa argachuu ni dandeessu. Bilbiltanii gaafii qabdan dhiyeessuu ni dandeessu. Egaayii har'asii Jettaa wajjiniin mari'achaa jirra. Dhimmi keenya immoo NGO biyya keenyatti NGO jedhama. Asitti immoo non-profit jedhama. Akkamitti jalqabuudha. Okay, let's come to the main point, because when people actually start non-profit for good purpose, and I think even among the Oromo there are a lot of people who want to start non-profit, but they don't know how to get funded. So what do you say? First of all, how to start a non-profit? What is the requirement, especially here in United States? And you can also relate this to Minnesota, your experience in Minnesota. So what comes first?
Well, you have to have a dream, right? You have to have an idea. You have to have, you can do it alone. But typically a nonprofit is a dream where you create the mission and the values and your organization. And then you start realizing, okay, I need to put my structure together. So you need a board. right? You can have a board as few as 3 people. You can have a board as.
But there, sorry, should you have a plan, or maybe, like, for example, if you want to start a business, you have to have a
Well, you have to have a
business
business
plan.
plan. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm
So-
kind of assuming that you're beyond that. You want to start there.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Yes.
So, I mean, you create where your mission is. You have to be
Okay.
able to articulate that.
Yeah. Mission.
Your mission, your vision, your values for your
Okay.
organization.
Okay.
You have to figure out where you're going to incorporate it. I live in South Minneapolis. So, you know, I incorporate in South Minneapolis, but some people want to have PO boxes. They want to be in St. Paul. You know,
Should you have, real address?
If you have nonprofits that start really small, typically we use where they live, or they'll use a PO
Their own
box,
house?
their own house.
Yeah.
There
Okay.
comes some safety issues with that. Once you have to file online, people might know your address. I've never been afraid of that because I'm tiny, right? So
Okay.
no one really wants to bug Jalanne.
Okay.
But you know, normal organizations will begin to build. You know, when you start your organization, you have a bylaws.
Okay.
You know, what do you stand for? What is your real meat and potatoes about the organization? How
Okay.
do you vote? How does the organization structure itself? How do
Okay.
you dissolve?
Okay.
And how do you create? And so
Okay.
you have to have that document in
Yeah.
order.
So these documents are article of incorporation,
Mhm.
and what else? Is it a plan or?
Well, your plan is your business plan. You don't have
Okay.
to file that,
Yeah,
but you
yeah.
have the bylaws and an articles of incorporation.
Yeah, these two are very important.
Very important.
Okay.
I mean, when you get to the point where you have an idea and you have your people around you on your board that are supportive of this, like I said, you could start with as few as 3 individuals.
3 individuals.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
like I said, you could have 10, you could have 20, you could have 3.
Yeah,
but you're
at
finding
at
like-minded.
least you have to have a board, and in your board
Right,
you should have at least 3 people, right?
right.
Yeah, and again, executive, the executive, or somebody who is in administrative position.
Well, and some people call it their president. Some people call it their
Yes.
CEO.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. Some people in faith
So
organizations,
that
they
should
have
not
the.
be from the board, right?
No, it could be. I mean,
It
you
could
can be
be?
the president and the CEO of the
Oh,
organization,
Okay,
right? Like, again, you have to decide leadership structure
okay,
for it. There's pros and cons for everything you do in a nonprofit.
okay.
I would suggest spending time really thinking and dreaming about how you want it to be. And bylaws are meant to change. They're living and breathing documents. Most people create bylaws and then they completely forget about them. But, you know, in time, as we go down, you can change the structure. If you know, and you write in your original bylaws, what are the rules to change them? Is it unanimous vote of the board? Is it 2/3? Is it quorum? You know, so those things. But once you get these key documents together, then you've got 2 steps. If you're in Minnesota, you want to file that with the Secretary of State, which is online. It's quite easy,
Okay.
right? And you have one in the federal. You have to create a 501c3.
Yeah.
The federal. It's all online.
Okay, so federal where?
Well, it's online.
Online, I mean, is it in IRS or somewhere?
Yeah, it's through the IRS,
Okay.
right? And you basically Google it, right?
Okay.
That's the easiest way to start.
Yeah.
And so you file
And again, from the state, it is
the Secretary of State.
Yeah, Secretary of State.
Yeah,
right?
just do Google Secretary of State Steve Simon's office,
Okay.
and it's really easy. I've been looking at it recently for my business,
Okay.
and it's not hard to
Okay.
to put together at all,
Uh-huh.
and it's a simple payment. You know, you pay it online,
Okay.
but you have to have both. I will start federal
Okay.
to get the 501c3, and that could
Yeah.
actually take months
Okay.
to get through, and then you start with whatever state you're at and grab that one.
Okay. Okay. Here there is one question. Bonsa say that don't interrupt her. Let her talking. He said it in Afaan Oromoo.
Galatomi.
Galatomi si jedhamteerta Bonsa. Egaa bilbiluu ni dandeessu gaafii yoo qabaattanii bilbilli keenya asirra jira kunooyi. Charlie Sarmu, we are listening. Doctor. Galatomi Charlie is actually from Washington, D.C.
Oh, wow.
I know him. So, bilbilli keenya 612-341-980 jaalanne wajjiniin mari'achaa jirra dhimma garaagaraa irratti haasa'aa jirra. Okay, so now suppose I started a business. I mean, sorry, non-profit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, non-profit. And so first I have to have article of incorporation and a bylaw. And then I have to file these two documents, right?
Sure.
Yeah, so I filed these two documents to, I apply at Secretary of State and then IRS, and then they give me permission, right? Like
Well,
I get a license.
You can still do work without those, but what it
Okay.
gives is the benefit of having a tax write-off
Okay.
and having that status, so that if I believed in your business and I
Yeah.
gave you a financial donation,
Yeah.
you would be able to write me a donor letter with
Yeah.
your documentation to say this is a charitable donation in
Mhm.
accordance with state and federal
Mhm.
laws,
Mhm.
and then I could write it off. I
Mhm.
mean, you could choose. I
Mhm.
mean, so many people have great ideas and
Mhm.
they don't go through those steps.
Mhm.
It just means as me as the donor,
Mhm.
I don't have the benefit of
Mhm.
having the tax write-off for that.
No. Okay.
And some people do it because of the kindness of their heart. They don't
Mhm.
need the tax write-off,
Mhm.
but a lot of people will want the financial benefit of a
Okay.
charitable donation.
Okay. Okay.
Right.
All right. Then what is really very important is, okay, I got all the
Okay.
license and everything.
Congratulations.
And then I need fund. How do I get fund? Especially I know you helped a lot of forum organization,
Mhm.
and you are also a grant writer.
Mhm.
So how do I fund my non-profit?
Right. Well, there are a lot of ways to bring dollars in. You could do donor campaigns,
Mhm.
which means you appeal to your friends or your colleagues or your networks
Mhm.
by social media, by in
Mhm.
person, by letters,
Mhm.
and you just ask for donations.
Mhm.
That's kind of like one way.
Mhm.
Where I come to the table is I work with nonprofit organizations and
Mhm.
help them write proposals.
Mhm.
So I actually work for-profit businesses,
Mhm.
Oromo businesses,
Mhm.
and I work for nonprofit
Mhm.
businesses.
Mhm.
And so what will typically happen over the years is one of my Oromo friends will
Mhm.
email me and say, Jetta,
Mhm.
and they'll send me a link.
Mhm.
And they'll send me a link to a city
Mhm.
grant, a state grant, a
Mhm.
county grant,
Mhm.
a federal grant,
Mhm.
or USAID.
Mhm.
Like I'm working with Jetta University,
Mhm.
so we're looking at
Yeah, we will
certain-
come to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know that you are working with
Mhm.
many Oromo organizations, and so we will come to that. And yeah,
Mhm.
go ahead. Sorry.
So basically, they'll send me the link, and I whether I know them a little bit or I've worked with them for years,
Mhm.
I'll just start reading through the grant application and start in my brain. What does this entity, let's say, what does the county want?
Mhm.
What do they want to build?
Mhm.
What is it related to? Deterrence for drugs? Is it related to fire prevention? Is it
Mhm.
related to trauma,
Healthcare,
healthcare,
care.
anything, right?
Yeah.
And I start reading it, and then I'll call up the director and say, okay, what were you thinking?
Mhm.
How do you think that you can tap into these dollars?
Mhm.
And sometimes my people, dear friends of mine, they just find any stream and they text it or they email it to me, and I start laughing like
Mhm.
I have no idea what they were thinking. Like
Mhm.
they're not eligible, or they just aren't in the stream.
Mhm.
One of the most important things for if you're interested in nonprofit and trying to get into that field and getting those grants
Mhm.
is we call it mission shift.
Okay.
Like if you're in a lane and you are building a school,
Mhm.
right? Or whatever your lane is,
Mhm.
don't shift outside your lane to grab
Mhm.
money, because
Mhm.
then you're building a school and you're working in construction, and then you're going to flip into medical care, and then you're in a
Mhm.
feeding program. Like
Mhm.
your mind goes nuts. Do
Mhm.
what you do and do it really well.
Mhm.
Don't shift into others.
Mhm.
And so when people will send me the link, sometimes I'm like, I think it's a great grant. I don't think this one's for you.
Mhm.
And then they have to tell me,
Mhm.
Jetta, we really do think it's for us.
Mhm.
Let's go for it. And I
Mhm.
say, okay, you
Mhm.
go for it.
Mhm.
But I can almost 9 times out of 10 realize they're never going to get it. But I work my tail off,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Because I want to make them happy.
Mhm.
But I try really hard to say, let's wait.
Mhm.
Let's wait another month or another couple of weeks to see if
Mhm.
we can find a better one.
Mhm.
And at that point, then a grant application, whether it's an RFP for a private business or it's the grant application, you basically have to figure out, what does the foundation want?
Mhm.
What do they believe in? Do they believe in education and mental health? Do they believe in medical care?
Mhm.
And then sometimes the organizations will go right for those You know,
Mhm.
Minnesota has a lot of
Mhm.
foundations, and
Mhm.
I know other states do too.
Mhm.
But you've got to find that right link, that
Mhm.
right hyperlink to their website,
Mhm.
typically.
Mhm.
And you can get on their websites
Mhm.
and get on their list.
Mhm.
Every private foundation, every public foundation, they'll send a newsletter because they want more people to subscribe.
Yeah.
And that
there.
means,
Sorry.
yeah.
Let me interrupt
Okay.
you here. Even though he said that, don't interrupt her. So, how do you get this link? How do you know that there is
Oh,
funding?
right.
Yeah, out there.
You know, I've worked in the nonprofit world for so many years
Yes.
that I know that I want to go after the McKnight Foundation because they're a brilliant organization. I want to get to know
You said McKnight.
McKnight, you know,
Yeah.
the St. Palm Foundation, Minneapolis Foundation.
Okay, what do they
small
do? I
families.
mean, for example, there are certain people who are probably listening to
Sure.
us, and they have non-profit, and
Mhm.
so they are maybe looking for fund.
Sure.
So how do they actually know that there is funding out there?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, for someone like me, I've been in the business over 10 years, so I know which foundations that I like to work with.
Okay.
And I subscribe to their blogs.
Okay.
Right. I find them on their websites. I don't usually go social media. I go right to their websites. And then I can, when they have a funding stream coming in, they'll
Yeah.
give me 6 weeks notice.
Okay.
And then sometimes
I mean, is there something somewhere they can
their
maybe
websites.
look? Yeah, website
they go to
can
their
look up.
websites. I mean, oftentimes those foundations will have a Facebook page and they'll announce it on Facebook. They'll announce it on LinkedIn.
Okay.
But I go right to the source. I want to go right to where they're at.
Yeah.
So I'm on listservs with the different foundations, but I'm also on listservs with the counties, right? You can go into like Gov Delivery, which is a platform that a lot of the local here in Minnesota, GOV Delivery.
Okay.
Gov Delivery,
Gov
and then I can
Delivery,
say, you know, I want to know about Brooklyn Park, Brooklyn Center, and Minneapolis. I don't want to know about like Ramsey County, or maybe if I live in Ramsey County, I just want Ramsey County. And so I can go through and I can choose cities, and then I automatically get an email when something comes up. Right?
Okay.
Like I write a lot of grants because I live in the city of Minneapolis, and a lot of the groups that I'm with are from Minneapolis.
Yeah.
So I'm always on the lookout for things in the city of Minneapolis, in the county of Hennepin, in the state of Minnesota, health departments and such. So I will always be on those blogs. And sometimes I don't have to. Sometimes I get a call late in the evening from one of my partners saying, did you see that? And I haven't been into my email yet, but they're doing the same thing. That's called grant seeking, which is kind of the prep part. It's the harder part. I think the grant writing is the easier part.
No, okay.
The grant seeking is looking under all the rocks.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
My job is basically when they give the link, read it through, read it twice, read it 3 times. And then
what they want.
What do they want?
Yeah.
Now, if you and I work together and you're nonprofit and we had worked together, I could probably start writing some of the introductory sections.
Okay.
But if it's a new organization, we'll sit down over coffee. We'll sit down really quiet places in a library or a coffee shop or wherever. And I just want you to tell me your dream. You know, how did you start? How do you do your business? What do you believe in? And then after we get the introductory pieces, then I want you to tell me, okay, this grant says I have to do A, B, and C. What is your plan? What is your budget? Who's going to do it? Your staffing. I'm going to want your resume because I'm going to want to be able to write strong things so that your organization, you know, is competitive.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's not easy. It's not easy. I mean, I love grant writing because it's telling a story.
Okay.
And I get to take, I don't work with every organization. I want to believe that they're a good organization. I believe that they need to be kind and
what do you mean by good?
Well, they want to do good things in the world.
Okay.
I mean, I'm a hopeless romantic, right? I'm always looking for love in the world, and I'm looking for organizations that are not corrupt, that they don't steal money, right? You know. Yeah. You know, there are bad nonprofits. I mean, look at the scheme of the things that have happened in Minnesota. We don't have to talk about them, but those organizations exist. Yeah. And I just don't want to be part of them. So I'm looking for the good organizations.
Actually mission driven, and actually those who deliver, you know, what they promised. Yeah. That's good idea. Yes. Okay. So once maybe somebody told me that you can also, or maybe Minnesota Nonprofit Organization Council is a good place for looking for.
It's wonderful.
Resource. Yeah.
Quite frankly, if let's say you're out there and you're not ready to start a nonprofit, but you want to work at a nonprofit, Minnesota Council on Nonprofits is my go-to. I always love to find. You can find consultants who will help you grant write. You can find. If you're a member of that organization, there are certain member benefits. But if you're just a random person, there's a job board out there. I love mcn.org, I think it is, Minnesota Council on Nonprofit. Again, just Google it. Minnesota Council on Nonprofits is excellent.
There are some questions here. Let me read them. Abdi Boru me bilbila irra deebi'aa kunooti bilbilli jira iskiriin irra laali obboleessa koo 612-341-980 bilbili. Umar Haji Fato says, how do they live in peace? I have a question. What kind of support is this company giving with the people? Have you started now or have you been working since before? I think he's asking you, do you have organization? Do you have you have consultancy?
I do. I've worked my whole career in different nonprofits. I've worked with babies, with the March of Dimes. I've worked in drug and alcohol treatment. I've worked with seniors. I've worked with puppies. And I finally this year decided that I want to start my own nonprofit, my own LLC to be able to help nonprofits.
So what do you do? The reason why we want you here is, just
to get us
to introduce you to the Oromo community. And you are Oromo. I know you become Oromo now. So tell us more about.
Most of I've written grants for the Oromo community exclusively for 4 years.
Would you tell us more about with whom you have been working?
Well, I work in the Oromo community, so I a lot in Minnesota. I work
only Minnesota or somewhere else?
I write for an Oromo organization in Canada, in Calgary. I work with Dirdawa University. Most of the time it's here in the Twin Cities, but I mean, I have only been writing with Oromo community groups here, related to medical, related to community engagement, related to healthcare, youth development. Those are always the fascinating ones when they're trying to create programs to divert our kids away from suicide, pregnancy, drug and alcohol use, right? Anyway, it's very worthy. I'm not exactly sure why I don't write in white America. I just probably feel more comfortable in the Oromo community for the last 4 years. So color me surprised, I guess.
Is it because you become Oromo now?
I think I've been so warmly welcomed into the Oromo community. I mean, most of my close friends, my colleagues, people adopt me into their family. Do you know what I mean? People I have lunch with and dinner with and such. I don't know. They just most are very good people.
Okay. Thank you. So you have been working with the Oromo community. I know you have worked with Oromia 11 too.
I did a contract with them.
So you have helped a lot of Oromo organization. One of the questions here, Umar Haji Fato, we're proud of you. Thank you. Keep moving forward in order to achieve your goals. Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure.
So here again, we are discussing about how to get in fund. Is there difference between non-profit in United States and some of our audience are in Ethiopia? And for example, many people from Ethiopia told me that they have non-profit or NGO, but they couldn't get fund. And so what?
Well, let me tell you the story. So one of the first reasons before I went to Africa, a friend of mine that I knew in graduate school created a school in Tanzania. And how we created that was I raised money, so he wanted me on his board. There were 3 of us here based in Minneapolis. He's in Tanzania. He grew up in Nairobi. He came here for school. That's how we met in graduate school. And so what we did is we created the 501c3 here in the United States. We created the board of directors, did the federal, did the state, and then between the board members, people donate to the organization. I'm in charge of kind of the finances that come through because it's in my neighborhood, the bank. And so when we raise the money and they need something back in Tanzania, then I do the transfer at the bank and they wire it through. And so, like I said, in the last 3 weeks, maybe a month, I've talked to 3 different organizations that they want to do the same thing. They want to create a school in Derdawa. They want a school Shashamani. They want one in Adama. I mean, it's just like school because, I mean, the kids in Tanzania are no different than the ones in Oromia. Right? They don't have shoes, right? They have 1 shirt,
pencil,
2 shirts. They have no pencils. I was just talking to a dear friend of mine from Wolega, and he was in tears. He's like, these kids don't have pens. Jetta, can you buy me some pens? I'm like, yeah, buy some pens. Right? They don't have paper. And the same thing was in Tanzania. And so we created the entity in the United States. People donate. Then I'm able to give a donor letter so that they have that benefit of that $200 donation or whatever it is. And then we take the money and we transfer it to Dar es Salaam, right, to the bank there. And then they use those dollars in a little village called Zumba. If people were in a United States wanting to do the same thing, whether it's Shashamani or Jimla, wherever it is, they could do the entity in Minnesota or DC, right, Portland, wherever they were doing it, and then be able to wire transfer like you do all other transfers by Zelle or however you transfer those dollars.
Okay. All right. So maybe let's listen to advertisement now. Sorry, we will come back. Dhaggeeffattoota keenya yeroo tokko nu eegaa. Egaa reediyoo irras waan jirruu fi beeksisa dhaggeeffannee deebina. Jiitaa wajjin jirraa, jaalannee jechuudha. Wajjin jirraa, hin deemina, nu dhaggeeffadhaa. Waa'ee non-profitii haasaa jirra. Keessattuyyuu NGO non-profitii akkamitti akka hundeessitanii fi fandii akkamitti akka argattanii nu eeggadha.
Ammuma yoomitti kaimalee alaagaanu dhiitaa kaimalee goota hidhaa baasii kaimalee nyaaphaa facaasii kaimalee. Erganutti duule gabroomsaanii saamamtee kunoo Oromiyaanii nyaattee nufittee jarri dhoksaanii eega kan barnoota manaa baatee barattoota keenya kan biyyee nyaatee hundar waldeyaatitti saree nyaatee achi naqinii jarri lammiidha jettee wabiin qabduu gaafa manaa baatee biyyi mootummaan qabdu shifta argatti kuftee lolee kolakkii foon citte koherraa gali malee. Erganutti duule gabroomsaanii saamamtee kunoo Oromiyaanii nyaattee nufittee jarri dhoksaanii eega kan barnoota manaa baatee barattoota keenya kan biyyee nyaatee hundar waldeyaatitti saree nyaatee achi naqinii jarri lammiidha jettee wabiin qabduu gaafa manaa baatee biyyi mootummaan qabdu shifta argatti kuftee lolee kolakkii foon citte koherraa lolee kolakkii qoreen waraantee lolee kolakkii kunoo haati garaa lolee kolakkii hiriyaa gurgurtee lolee kolakkii kaimalee alaagaanu dhiitaa kaimalee goota hidhaa baasii.
We are back. Thank you, Jita. Jalanne. Deebinee jirra dhaggeeffattoota keenya. Amma kuno ammas KFI Jirra. This is KFI Radio and the Simbirtu Media. Jetta Wiedemeier Jirra. Okay, so we have been talking about how to get fund for our non-profit. So you, for example, again, I am taking back to the non-profit organization in Ethiopia, in Oromia. And so, is there any a website or any resource that help them to get fund, or maybe can they talk to you, or maybe generally actually we can also talk about maybe the non-profit organization, especially Oromo related non-profit organization, how they can, I mean, get fund. How do you help them, and how can they get fund? Yeah.
Well, when I meet a new organization, sometimes I ask them to look at what are the other organizations around, right? And we all have this natural need to build something new, but oftentimes we can have strength in numbers if we join something existing. Right? Maybe this organization serves Shashamani, but maybe they could spread it and have another one for Jimma.
Oh, okay.
Do you know what I mean? And you could work under the same nonprofit. I mean, you have to work and play well in the sandbox together.
Yes.
But I just see a lot of nonprofits, and if you can. Usually in the first 3 years, a nonprofit will come up and come down.
Oh, okay.
And so, just having that, there's no magic website that I know of to start a nonprofit that is going internationally, right? It's about your connections. The reason that the nonprofit works, it's called the Schwartz School in Tanzania, is because I have people on the ground in Tanzania. It's a woman named Subalaga. She's brilliant, right? She's the school marm. She pays the bills. She plants the ground. She hires the people. She hires the contractors. Like that woman is built to be a CEO. There's nothing that Subi can't do. We fund it from the United States. We have the easy job, right? They're on the ground. And so I think you've got to figure out what your structure is. You've got to find someone you can trust. And I think for me, we got to get stuff done. We can't just talk about it, right? Because sometimes in our culture, we just talk about stuff, right? We have to be able to execute. We call them the GSD, get stuff done days. You've got to find that place, and then back home, you've got to figure out where your permits are. Do you have the land? When you apply for your paperwork back home, which I'm not an expert in. I work in Minnesota, so that's my sweet spot. But I just got off the phone tonight at dinner from someone I used to know years ago, and he said, "I just found you. Can you help me?" And what I'm doing for him is we're going to sit down next Thursday, and he's going to tell me his dream. And I'm going to look at his paperwork, and we're going to make sure he's got the 501c3 set. We're going to make sure, what does his bylaws say? What do his articles of incorporation say? Does he have the Secretary of State paperwork done? Now, he also has a home healthcare business. And he said, "Jed, I want to talk about that." I'm like, okay, you're making me crazy. But, and another one, he wants to do soccer, right? So, I mean, I love this guy, right? Because he's got all these dreams. But I want to go line to line and get one done and do it really well. I mean, we can be small, but I want to do it really well so that in 5 years, we're still around. For 10 years, we have a legacy, right?
Let me tell you my experience. Once I met a woman, she has a coffee shop. Her coffee shop was, through her coffee shop, she collected like $10,000.
Right, donations for some cause.
For children in Ethiopia. And so she said that now I have something like $10,000 and I want to donate this. And do you know a non-profit organization in Ethiopia?
That's legitimate.
Right. And then I posted on Facebook, and many people asked me, "Please, Jay, I wanted that fund. Please, I wanted that fund." And finally, even it was not, it was really very difficult to decide
a legitimate place to donate.
Where to donate. And finally, I just referred to her an organization who was working on homeless children, and I think they have got that money. I think there are a lot of non-profit organizations
Right.
And many young people especially have a dream to start non-profit organization and help children, for example, like, collecting pen, pencil,
Sure.
exercise book,
Sure.
and so on. But they don't know where to get fund, where to get support. And
Yeah.
And again, here, even in United States, again, I know some really very good non-profit organization. For example, I interviewed them. For example, I interviewed Opse Lubo, who is actually doing amazing job in Western Oromia. And again, I also interviewed the owner of the CEO of Kenna Foundation.
I know
Yeah,
her,
you know
Kaneko.
her. Yeah. So there are some women who I haven't actually, fortunately or unfortunately, I haven't seen main
I knew you were going to say that.
main CEO of non-profit organization. But our women are really doing great job, amazing job. But yet I know some non-profit organization who haven't got a fund at all. Okay, they already started it, but they didn't get a fund.
Right.
The reason is they don't know how to get, a fund for their non-profit organization.
Well,
So
you've got to find a way to bridge. What I know about the Oromo community is that we're
yes,
exhausted.
Yes, I am
We're
going to ask you.
exhausted.
Yeah, I am going to ask you that question.
Okay.
That question is: you are in, and again in, let's say, a stranger. You now you are Oromo, but you were not Oromo. And so how you assess even the Oromo community and the awareness we have concerning even business, non-profit organization as external person and at the same time internal person now?
Well, I mean, I think it's an unfair question. I mean, it's my opinion, right?
Okay.
I mean,
Yes.
I was brought in, I hired a man named Ahmed, and he brought me to events. And we funded events. We funded the Oromo community in Minnesota. We have funded the adult day centers. We partnered with different groups. And it's kind of an unfair question to say, but what I know is that the success that some of the organizations have had is they found a way to bridge to mainstream Minnesota, right? Because what I was going to say is that every organization out there is asking for money. They're asking for money for back home. They're asking for children. They're asking for relief. They're asking for the war. Like everyone is asking for money, and the Oromo people are exhausted, right? We just don't have any more money to give, or it's just we're getting a little about doing it.
I mean, maybe here the problem is because we are only appealing to Oromo.
What I was going to say is you have to find a bridge to mainstream Minnesota. Whether it's joining an organization where white people are, you have more Farenji, right? You've got to find them. We don't bite. But you've got to make friends, right? You've got to, I call it friend raising and fundraising. You cannot fundraise until you raise the friends. You've got to appeal to their head and their heart. Right. And so you've got to find someone to bridge you as a liaison. And that's what Ahmed did with me. He showed me the beauty of his culture. He showed me the wonderful things of the stories. He was a Muslim man, and he told me about his masjid, and then he took me there, and then he told me about this, and he took me there, and and then I just have this walking closer to the Oromo people. Organizations that want to have long-lasting success will find a way to get in with the Oromo community, but then also with the Swedish American, German, Norwegian community here in Minnesota and in any other state or DC, finding ways to do that authentically. We don't do it. You have to be genuine. It won't work. It won't work if you're not genuine. But finding ways to network, finding ways to market, finding ways to have conversations. And then it's not just an Oromo thing, it's a humanity.
Yeah, of course.
Right?
Yes.
No. I think that marketing piece is really key. And I've noticed in the Oromo community, we're always looking like this. And I'm hoping people will look like this. Right?
Instead of convergent just we advise them to be divergent, looking around.
But it's not easy, nor is it intuitive.
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
where do you go? You go where you always go. You go where the food tastes at home.
Yeah.
Right. You're going to go to an aroma restaurant.
Yeah, but it is good to make a friend outside Oromo. And again, there are also, as you said, there are resources out there. The government donate.
The government doesn't donate.
I mean that the government give you.
They find resources, and what they want to do is they want to lift up. I believe in government. There's a lot of negative there, but I believe that the government has the ability to lift us up and has the ability to say, this is a great, right? This organization, this belief, and they want outcomes. They want key performance indicators, right? They want the money to be accounted for. There's a lot of reporting with a county grant, and even more with a state grant, and even more with a federal grant, right? You've got to be prepared. You can't just decide that I'm going to be a good person today and start a nonprofit. You have got to work your plan and plan for the work that you're going to do.
Okay. All right. Again, let's talk about your consultancy firm. What do you do, and how you help our community?
Right. Well, primarily I do writing. So for-profit businesses like adult day centers or home health care, I write for those organizations. They're writing proposals. I write for nonprofit organizations for requests for money. I do executive coaching with folks. Sometimes you get a new executive director. They've no idea what they're doing. So I'll come in and I've sat on 5 or 6 boards throughout my life. And so I'll work with the executive director, but I also work on board development. Right. So it's just a lot of hand holding, but then I want to hold people accountable, right? This is your dream. This isn't my dream. Let me get you excited. But for the most part, I'll talk with people and just begin writing their proposals, their grants to get them started. And then I just finished one for these 3 nurses, a Romo organization in one of the counties wrote a grant, and then they were done. They're like, if we get the grant, will you help us execute some of it? And I'm like, maybe, right? My gift is outreach and volunteerism, so it actually fits with what they want to do. So it's possible, and like one project moves into the next project. So again, you have to make friends before you can move on to other things. And I like to have relationships built with people, so that I can trust them, and I want them to trust me too.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So maybe how do they get you? For example, there are some people who want to connect with you,
right?
But how?
Well,
do you have website? Maybe
actually this afternoon I was working on that building. I've got the domain. It's going to be consultingbijetta.com. But I mean, you can put my email. My Gmail is probably the best way to get me. We can put it in the post or
public.
Yeah, it's public. Yeah, it's my last name. It's just Wiedemeier.
Okay, can you tell me?
Oh yeah, here. How about I write it?
Okay.
Wiedemeier at Gmail.
Okay.
Oops. Okay. Small. How about an @ sign?
Yeah.
@ sign at Gmail. So it's Wiedemeier, J, Wiedem. There you go.
Okay.
Perfect. So that's how most people connect. As of January 1st, I wanted to flip it on as of January 1st. It'll be consultingbijetta.com. But I built it, but I haven't turned it on yet.
Okay. Egaa dhaggeeffattoota keenya warri simbirtuu dhaggeeffatan yookiin daawwachaa jirtanii akkasumas KFI warri haasaa dhaggeeffachaa jirtanii Jetta wajjiniin jirraa kunooti karaa kanaan qunnamuu ni dandeessu. Imeelii kanaa kan ishiiti. Imeeliin kuni imeelii kanaan qunnamuudhanii akkamitti non-profitii keessan yookiin NGO keessanii fandii argachuu dandeessan yookiin immoo warri NGO banuu barbaadanii akkam gootanii akka bantan waan hundumaayyuu isin gargaarti. Kanaafi ishii wajjiniin walqunnamu yaala. Okay, so we have 4 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah. So anything you would like to talk about non-profit, about Oromo, about whatever?
4 minutes for anything. Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if we stayed on this line, I think that there's so much promise with nonprofit organizations, but I think that people think it's easy to do this. A nonprofit is just like building a private business, right? You have to sweat and tears and a lot of personal. Don't expect to, bring in a lot of money in the first year, make a very modest goal. But if you're working, your process, not all businesses make it. Just a certain percentage of them go through. Like I said, before I work with people, I want to look who my competitors are. Are there others that are doing the same thing? What makes my business unique and different? Maybe I can join forces. In the last month, maybe I've talked to 3 different organizations that want to create a soccer interest, right? Which is my passion. If you know anything about me, I love football. I will talk British Premier League football with you all day long. But they want to, in the Twin Cities, create this sporting piece because we want to get kids off the streets. We want to keep them busy. We want to get them not pregnant. We want to keep them, not off of drugs. And sport is a great piece. And then we add mentorships to that, and we do maybe after school programming with that. Like, this is a beautiful thing. And I'm watching these 3 different entities talk about the same thing. And I'm like, oh, how do we not compete, but how can we partner? Because there's going to be limited amount of state or government, public funds to fund something like this. How can we do it so that we can serve all parts of the Twin Cities, of the 7 metro area? How do we create that entity? So.
And again, I know you also helped with Oromo Recha Festival.
Yes, yes, I did. Finally.
Actually, for the first time, actually. Because as I am Oromo insider, I used to think that nobody really sponsor or give fund to Oromo Recha,
but nowadays, I think in the last 5 years, a lot of government entities, maybe 10 years, have been trying to figure out, well, where do we find the beauty? Where do we find the beauty of the culture? And it's through these cultural events, celebration, dances. And think about the Oromo people, 11 regions, 11 cultural dresses. The dances are similar. The dances are different. We have different languages that we use. And white America is like, wow. Like, tell me more about that. And that's the benefit, is I know what, different entities and funding groups are looking for. And the Oromo people have a lot to share with the world. We just have to find the right funder at the right time and tell our story. And we were able to write that grant on the first try. And it was pretty excited. I was very pleased.
Thank you so much, Jetta. Galatomi too.
Huma miti.
Sorry, we don't have time. Just we are left only with 1 minute. Dhaggeeffattoota keenya egaa dhageessanii jirtu asirraa har'aa obboleettii keenya Jettaan qabadhee dhiyaadhee Jettaan waa'ee non-profitii akkamitti akka bantan akkamitti fandii akka argattan isin gorsaa turte. Kunooti imeeliin ishee asirra jira, iskiriinii irra jira. Kunoo asuma warri ilaaltan iskiriinii irraa, warri immoo reediyoodhaan dhageessanii J@gmail.com. Karaa kanaan argachuu ni dandeessu. Amma sagantaan keenya sa'a tokko qofa waan ta'eef reediyoo irratti simbirtuullee dheeressuu ni dandeenya. Hundumaafiyyuu waan jechuu qabnu jennee jirra. Namni tokko, would you mind consulting people from other states like Washington? Absolutely. HA to kana jedhe, HA is absolutely possible. Kunooti Gmailin jira. Bakka feetaniyyuu Oromiyaa ta'u, Ameerikaa keessaa ta'u, anywhere dubbisuu ni dandeessu. Wajjin mari'achuu ni dandeessu. Hin danda'ama. Egaa sagantaa keenya asumarratti dhaabna. Waan nu dhaggeeffattaniif galatooma. Jetta, thank you. Thank you so much.
Gamajukati. Thank you so much, Galatome.
Bajasi kalimale Saamamte kuno Oromiyaani Nyaatte nufitte jarri dhoksaani Eega kan barnoota manaa baate Barattoota keenya kan biyyee nyaate Kundar waldee yaaditti saree nyaate Achi naqinii jarri lammiidha jette Wabiin qabdu gaafa manaa baate Biyyi mootummaan qabdu shiftaa argatti kufte Lolee kolakki foon citte koherraa Gali malee Erganutti duule gabroonsaani Saamamte kuno Oromiyaani Nyaatte nufitte jarri dhoksaani Eega kan barnoota manaa baate Barattoota keenya kan biyyee nyaate Kundar waldee yaaditti saree nyaate Achi naqinii jarri lammiidha jette Wabiin qabdu gaafa manaa baate Biyyi mootummaan qabdu shiftaa argatti kufte Lolee kolakki foon citte koherraa Lolee kolakki qoreen waraante Lolee kolakki kunoo haati garaa Lolee kolakki yaa gurgurte Lolee kolakki ka'i malee Alagaa nu dhiita